Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Buzz. Trevor here, joined by Thomas as always. And today we are talking about the trailer for Anatomy of a Fall. We're going to be talking about the trailer, giving thoughts on its Oscar chances. And we've been talking about this film for a bit ever since it won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, continuing neon streak of winners after Triangle of Sadness, Teton, Parasite, right? All these things. So, it's a new film from Justine Triet, Triet, however you pronounce her name. I don't do French. And it stars Sandra Huller, who, again, sorry about pronunciation if it's wrong, but she's been getting a lot of buzz for this film. Some people even saying that she could win. Thomas, what was your general takeaway from this trailer?
My general takeaway is, I will say, most of which I think all of the trailer is in English, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting. We've heard about the language thing. Obviously, this could potentially be a foreign language contender at the end of the year. I don't know the exact eligibility rules. Have it been confirmed if it's eligible or not?
I don't think it has been
Yeah,
confirmed or not. Yeah.
but I
We'll have
think
to
the
wait
problem
and
is,
see if France
yeah,
admit it.
I guess. But I think the problem is if you are selling it too much on this English language thing, it could then lose that, which would be a shame because I think this will be a very big contender for that
Yeah.
international feature prize at the end of the year. But as I say, I thought the trailer was very well done. It definitely looks like the sort of thing that would appeal to me, the sort of thriller stuff, the crime stuff,
Yeah.
a usual genres that work for me. Sandra Huller, I thought looked excellent. Like in every scene she was in, she was clearly doing something
Just like
interesting.
fantastic screen presence as well in it.
Exactly. Like every time she was on screen, even though she actually was also sharing the screen with, I don't know the male actor in this film,
I'm not sure. Yeah.
but he had a lot of screen time as well in this trailer, which
Mhm.
I felt was interesting. I've heard that it's not really selling the tone of this film quite correctly, and that it is a bit more comedic than this trailer would let on, which I think is
Yes.
interesting, and I think would be good because I could see, a drama like this just leaning entirely into these thriller elements. Could get a bit tiring at the end of it, but yeah, so you do want it to be lightened up sort of a bit with the comedy, but I can see why potentially you wouldn't be selling that in the trailer. But as I say, this is just, I think, an excellent trailer for getting
Yeah.
people excited about the film, getting eyes on a film that people may have not been before. But yeah, Sandra Hiller, as I said, looks excellent. Film looks like it will appeal to me.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, like even just in the trailer and the brief snippets that we've seen, Sandra Huller looks commanding of every single frame that she's in. And yeah, I've heard that it also does lean a bit more comedic. I've heard that there's also a bit of time spent in the court,
Mm.
which we don't necessarily see as much here. Um, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays with like the scope of the story. I mean, obviously, I think that there will be lots of comparisons to Decision to Leave. Very kind of similar presence, the guy falling off a cliff and then that being used to explore a bunch of different things of love and all of that with like court and thriller investigation, that those genre things. But it actually seems like it's using the fall in an interesting way, where it's like using like his literal fall and death as like a way to explore like the fall of a marriage. I think there was a tagline at some point in it where it's like a crime where the culprit is marriage or something like
Yeah.
that, or where the suspect is marriage, however it was phrased. Um, and it seems really thematically interesting, and like it's already. It appears like it's doing a bit more than just your standard thriller, which you'd expect from a film that won the Palme d'Or.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, looks like a really, really sharp screenplay. I wouldn't be entirely shocked, again, just off of a trailer, but if this did get a bit of directing hype.
Potentially. I mean, it looks like quite a contained film. Like the only
Yeah,
really locations we see are the house and a bit of the courtroom, and apparently the courtroom is where a lot of this film takes place.
right.
So I could see directing might be a bit harder to get just because it's you're filming it in one location.
It's
I'm sure
also
the
a
camera
tougher
work,
category.
yeah, I'm sure the camera work will be interesting and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm
Mhm.
sure it will be very well done, but it doesn't look to be the most showy, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, I agree. I agree. But overall, I'm really looking forward to this film. It seems like just I don't want to say your standard like European art house thriller, but it's playing on a lot of the tropes that you would associate with the European art house thriller. And Justine seems to be working within those tropes in a really, really fascinating way. With all the metaphors and interesting turns on the typical themes that you would see in a thriller. With it, really just focusing on it seems like a very subjective perspective.
Yeah. And I
Um,
also don't think it's like that tired of a genre. Like I don't think you need to
no,
completely remake. If this is just a very solid thriller, I am all the more
yeah,
here for it. So yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, as we said, Sandra Huller looks stunning. Now, I think the question that a lot of people will have, and we talk about awards on this channel, can she win?
yeah, yeah.
Um, she looks great.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll be very good. I'm sure she will get a bit of critic hype towards the end of the year. Will that actually carry over to major award ceremony wins? Aside from the BAFTA, which we'll get to, I do think
I
the
think
BAFTA
that she
there is
can
a
win the
distinct
BAFTA.
chance. I think she can definitely win the BAFTA. BAFTA, it seems like that's the type of performance they might go for. Especially, let's not forget, Zone of Interest she is in as well, so that could add to her sort of hype. You know, maybe
Compounding
get
your
like a
narrative, yeah.
yeah, but I don't know if that necessarily always transfers to a win narrative. We saw last year Colin Farrell had all this, oh, you had such a great year, let's give you a nomination. Didn't transfer a win. Andrew Garfield, same thing a couple of years ago now at this point. So I do think that 100% carries over to nomination. I think nomination is fairly strong for her, especially if this film is a contender in picture, in screenplay, in international, if she can just latch onto that. And if it is her performance that is really at the center of this film and really is as good as it was apparently is at
Yeah,
or received a Canne, then yeah, I do think Best Actress nomination is there for her. I just don't know if she can potentially get the wins at major ceremonies needed. Like
right.
SAG probably won't do it. Critics' Choice could, if there's a real push. Globes
Uh,
won't.
I mean, and you can't say that somebody's like the front runner to win the BAFTA and then be like, but they aren't going to win the Oscar. Like that just she's obviously a very strong contender to win.
Yeah, and
Um,
especially since if you look at the lead actress category,
it's open.
we're looking for a winner like Fantasia Barrina potentially, Carrie Mulligan potentially, Greta Lee potentially. Why not Sandra Huller? Why can't she be in the conversation at least? Will
Absolutely.
it actually happen? As I say, I think there are a couple barriers. It is also
Yeah.
a foreign language film. Obviously, that shouldn't be a barrier, but
She isn't a
it definitely
name in
is. It definitely
America.
is. She isn't the name either, so there are potential problems. But yeah, I do think
Yeah.
she should at least be in there.
I mean, and she's a name in Europe,
Yeah,
which is like, but like, she isn't necessarily a name in America. She hasn't been in like American films as like a major, leading name, which can be a bit hard in those leading acting categories to get support behind you if you aren't a name, at least in America. Um, but I mean, I think that she could like if anybody's going to complete the critics trifecta, it's her to get a New York, NSFC, and LA. Like,
probably, most
she'd be
likely.
the one.
Again, it depends on will she be the one that they push, or will potentially they coalesce around someone like Greta Lee, which
Greta
I
Lee, yeah,
could see if they really do like Parasite. Potentially, Greta Lee becomes
yeah,
this critics push, and then she can go critics' choice, and then whatever that's her
right.
route in. So, yeah, I definitely think there is potential for her to be the critics' group by the end of the year. But we'll have to see because I don't think it's for certain, even though she could be the objectively best performance.
Right. Right. And again, we'll just have to see. Like something like actors, like I feel at least good for the nomination. Screenplay, I feel good for the nomination. Like it feels I don't want to say safe, but it feels comfortable enough to say that it'll get into screenplay. I mean, picture like if it's getting screenplay competitive and actress Neon, it's their main push. Neon, I
Yeah,
mean, pretty good at campaigning overall. I mean, they were able to get Triangle of Sadness in, and this is where like I may be looking at director because remember last year how coming out of Cannes, Triangle of Sadness won, but then everybody was like, but it's Park Chan Wook's year, and if they're going to go for an international push, it's Park Chan Wook for Decision to Leave, and that's the director choice. And then they just didn't nominate it at all because it was just not their thing. And they nominated Ruben Ostlund for Triangle of Sadness for not as big of a directing thing, but just a international choice that they liked. That was European art house thing. Could we see a similar thing happen this year with Jonathan Glazer and Zone of Interest? Zone of Interest, obviously, less so something that the Academy likes.
yeah.
Maybe they coalesce a bit more around Anatomy of the Fall,
I mean, I think
and
that's true as well. Just because I mean, we saw an Aspie Fall beat it for the Palme d'Or, which I think is an early sign that it's going to be more accessible, just as a general
right.
sort of
And we
awards
have
season.
Anatomy of the Fall, I think, stronger in picture right now. We both have
Yeah,
them in, and we have Glazer and director. I don't think that we feel that as strongly about Justine Triet right now, but I would keep an eye on that switch up to potentially happen.
It could definitely potentially happen. I think either way, you do need to have a Canne director in there. Yeah, like
Absolutely.
Scorsese doesn't count. Same way,
Scorsese, yeah,
if Baz Luhrmann got in last year, he wouldn't have counted. It wouldn't have been this
or
sort of
like,
like
the Top Gun director.
yeah, they're not what we
'Cause
refer
yeah,
to as Canne directors. Like Jonathan Glazer, Justin Triet, I think one of them will get it.
those are Cannes directors. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, it'll be interesting. I mean, you could also make the argument, the Oscars don't love thrillers. They don't. Like
They don't, but they don't. They do go for them sometimes when they are very well received. Like this one has already been very
or
well
like
received.
Promising Young
So
Woman, I think that counts, like,
yeah,
they're
yeah, I think
acceptance.
yeah, exactly. So
So, yeah, as far as text, I mean, again, we'll see if it's eligible for international feature. I don't think it's a thing like RRR where it's like it not being eligible or it not being submitted or whatever would kill it.
no, no,
Um, I think it's obviously would be submitted if it's eligible, but if it's not eligible, I still think it's fine for screenplay, actress,
yeah.
picture.
I mean, you'd hope so. You'd hope even France were able to look at this
They
and go,
submitted
yeah,
to
that one.
Cannes when that won the Palme d'Or. Like
Exactly,
it should be
exactly.
fine.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but as far as text, I mean, if they really love it and they go for it in like director, maybe we could see something like editing.
potentially. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it does look like it will be quite heavily edited, especially if it is. I don't know if it does cut between the court and the sort of how like cutting between these locations or time or whatever. But if it is doing
Yeah,
editing, I think there is potential for it. If it is just sort of an edited film, then I
yeah,
don't think we'll be able to.
for sure. And that we'll have to see the film, and it can look deeper into some of the first reviews from Cannes.
Yeah,
But overall, I think that we feel pretty good about this as an Oscar player. Probably like 3, 4 nominations, maybe a win in actress. And we'll see how that goes. But regardless, I'm really excited for the film overall.
yeah. I think this trailer really sold me. Really sold me.
Yeah. I think it's something that both of us are going to enjoy. I think this is going to be a both of us type of film.
100%.
So and I'm excited for that. Always more good movies are always a good thing.
Exactly.
So yeah, very excited to see it. We'll be reviewing it when it comes out later this year. I might even get to see it at a festival. We'll see. But until then, you can stick around. You can subscribe if you'd like, or you don't have to. It's fine, whatever way. And you just look at the links in the description and stay safe, everybody, and goodbye.